there, this is Jess from Make and Do Crew, and in this video we're going to talk about how to take a puff stitch circle like this and turn it into a granny square. And this is the technique that's used in my free Dahlia scrapgan blanket pattern, which you can find right below this video. I'll link it, or you can search for it on makeanddocrew.com. And for this tutorial, we're going to be using Lion Brand's Woolies yarn. So this is a category for worsted weight yarn. And if you've watched the video tutorial on how to create a puff stitch circle like this, you know you can use lots of different weights of yarn to create the same size circle. But for this part of the square, we are going to be using worsted weight yarn. And for this part of the pattern, we are going to be using a smaller hook than you would use for the puff stitch circle. So this is a size J 6mm hook. Okay, first things first, this might sound a little crazy, but the first step I suggest is counting the number of puff stitches you have in the final round of your puff stitch circle, making sure it's 24 puffs that you have there. Because believe it or not, I have screwed this up and I only realize that I'm missing one once I get a few rounds into the square, which is kind of an annoying time to figure it out. So check that before you start each square and you'll be glad that you did. Hopefully you don't find any mistakes. To begin this, we are going to join our yarn to the puff stitch circle. So the way I like to do that is just put a slip knot on my hook, and then you can begin in any space on your circle. So I'm going to insert my hook and then just yarn over and slip stitch into that loop that's on my hook. So that joins it right there. And then I'm going to tightly chain 3 stitches. And tightly, just so that this doesn't end up being a different height than the rest of my double crochets. So I've got that going there, and now I need to put 2 more double crochets in the same space. So that first chain 3 counts as my first double crochet, and then I'm putting 2 double crochets in the same space. So now I have a double crochet cluster of 3 stitches. Now I'm going to move on to the next space, and I need to work 3 double crochets again. And I'm going to do that same thing all the way around the circle. So I'm placing 3 double crochets in each space between the puff stitches. And I should at the end have 24 double crochet clusters, and each of those should have 3 double crochets in them. And now that I'm at the end of that round, I'm going to just insert my hook under that first chain and yarn over and pull it through with a slip stitch. So that creates a full closed circle here for round 1. Now we're going to start round 2 by slip stitching into our next space between the clusters. So that means I just work into the top of each stitch and I pull my yarn up. But instead of like single crocheting or doing something else, I just pull it through. So I slip stitch and this moves my yarn over. So I'm doing that in the next 2 stitches, and then I slip stitch into this space. And now we're going to transform our circle into a square with 4 distinct corner points. So we're going to begin by chaining 1, and then I'm going to single crochet 3 in this first space. So 1, 2, and 3. So that's the shortest stitch we're going to do. Now we need to graduate up to a half double crochet. So in the next space over, I'm going to work 3 half double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So that's a little bit taller stitch. And now we're going to put 3 double crochets in this next space. So we started with single, then we did half double crochet, now we're moving up to double crochet. And if you think about it, it's kind of like we're climbing up some steps that are getting gradually taller here. Each set of 3 stitches is a little bit taller than the previous set. So we've got 3 double crochets there, and now in the corner we're going to use treble crochets. So to do a treble crochet, I'm going to yarn over twice. So I already have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to insert my hook in that next corner space and yarn over again. So now I have 4 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2, and then yarn over again and pull through the next 2, and yarn over again and pull through the last 2. So that's the tallest stitch we need to make, and we need to make 2 more of those. So I need to yarn over twice, pull my yarn up, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So now I've got 2 of them, so I'm going to do it one more time. I've got 2 yarn overs there, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So this is where we're placing our corner here. So I've already worked 3 trebles. I'm going to chain 1 for my corner space, and then I need to work 3 more trebles all in the same space we were already working into. So I've got 1 treble, 2, and 3. And now we're going to walk down the steps, so to say. So if we did a single, half double, double, treble, now we're doing treble and we're working backwards. So now we need to place a double crochet in the next space. So I've got 1, 2 double crochets, and 3 double crochets. Now I work half double crochets. So you can see we're just stepping down to shorter and shorter stitches. We've got half double. And now we're right in the middle of this side of our square. And in the middle, we're going to place our single crochets. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. And now we're ready to hike back up the stairs. So we did treble, double, half double, single, and now we're going to do half double to go back up the steps. So we've got 2 and 3 half double. Now we're going to do 3 doubles, and then to finish this side off we need 3 trebles. So that's the one we're going to have to yarn over 3 separate times. 1, and then 2 more stitches right there. And now we've completed this side, so now it's time to work down this side. So this is our corner right here with our treble. So just like we did right here, we're going to chain 1 and then work 3 more trebles in the same space. And then we will be ready to just repeat the same thing we did right here 2 more times. So you'll work 3 trebles here, and then do your double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, and then half double, double, and then place another corner of 3 trebles, chain 1 space, and 3 trebles. And then you'll repeat that same process right here. And then we'll talk about how to finish this last little section of our first side. So now we've created 4 distinct corners. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. This is my treble, chain 1, treble cluster section. So after this, if you remember, we've worked a double crochet cluster always. So we're going to do that here. And this is going to reflect the same thing we did over here, and that's going to finish this round off. So we've got 3 doubles and then 3 half doubles. And then we're ready to slip stitch to the top of our first single crochet. So that's going to finish this round off. And there we go. We've got a square. And from here we're going to do something that if you're at all familiar with granny squares is going to look really familiar. So what we need to do first is slip stitch to get our yarn over to the next space between the clusters. So we're slip stitching in each stitch until we get over to the space between the clusters. So I've moved my yarn over there, and then I'm going to chain 3. Again, I'm doing that kind of tightly so that it doesn't end up too tall, and that's going to count as my first double crochet. Now I'm going to double crochet 2 more in that same space. And then we're going to put 3 double crochets in each space until we get to the corner. When we're at the corner here, we're going to do something very similar to what we did before, except for instead of using treble crochet, we're going to use double crochet from here on out. So I'm going to place 3 double crochets, so 1 cluster of double crochets here in the corner. Things are getting a little out of control there. There we go. Rein it in, Jess. Okay, we've got 1 cluster there, then we're going to chain 1 and then place another cluster in that same corner space. And what this does is it adds 1 cluster to each side on each round. So when you're counting, you should notice that you increase each round, each side increases by 1 cluster. So we've got our corner there, and now we can just continue working around in the same way we just worked this little section. So that's 3 double crochets in each space between the clusters, and then a 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet in the corner, and then you'll repeat that all the way around and then slip stitch to the top of your chain 3 to join this into a closed round. And here we are at the end of this round. So I just wanted to point out, it can be a little hard to see the spaces in between the single crochet cluster and the half double crochet cluster, but they are indeed there. It's okay if you have to kind of squish your hook in there to get the double crochet cluster worked. It'll be much easier on the next rounds because you're only working in double crochet. So this is my last cluster of the round. 3 double crochets, and then I'm going to slip stitch and putting my hook right into the top of those 3 double crochets and then slip stitch to join. So right now we should have 8 clusters on each side of the square, and as I mentioned, we're just going to continue like this. Now you can do this for as many rounds as you want, and you'll just slip stitch into the next space, chain 3, and then put 2 double crochet, and then you'll just double crochet 3 times in each space, and at the corners you'll double crochet 3 times, chain 1, and double crochet 3 times more. So you'll work like that all the way around, end it like we just did, and you can continue like that for infinity if you want. In the Dahlia Afghan pattern, we do that 5 times, or I'm sorry, we have 5 total rounds before we fasten off and finish our square. So that's all you actually need to know to turn a puff stitch circle into a granny square. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. If it was, I'd love it if you hit that like button and subscribed to my channel. And once again, if you'd like to check out the Dahlia Scrapgan blanket pattern, you can find it for free on makeanddocrew.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out all the rest of our other free patterns. There's everything from blankets to sweaters to scarves and lots more video tutorials just like this. Thanks so much for watching, and happy crocheting!